Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. William and Catherine refused Prince Louis's first royal role shocked everyone. The recent response from Buckingham Palace to an unexpected invitation sent to Prince Louis, the youngest child of the Prince and Princess of Wales, gives us a look into how the senior Wales family raises their children nowadays. The young prince was asked to be the honorary patron of the World Conquer Championships, but he gently and lightly turned down the offer. The decline has made people think more about how modern royals are raising their children, how they balance their private family life with public expectations and the choices they are making to protect and care for the next generation of the House of Windsor. It is important to see the choice to turn down the Conquer patronage as more than just one response to a kind request. This is a symbolic gesture that shows the whole family is committed to keeping the normal parts of childhood for Prince Louis and his siblings, even if they are still very public characters. Instead of a short rejection, the palace's message was warm, funny, and clear. It showed that they were making a purposeful choice for the Wales children. The immediate obligations of play education and family life should come before the imposition of ceremonial tasks. Looking closely at this event gives us a good way to think about longer historical patterns of royal upbringing, the specific parenting styles that William and Catherine now prefer, and the early signs of character that the young prince has already shown in the few public appearances he has made. The narrative starts with a game that is quite popular among British kids, conkers. Conkers are the shiny brown seeds of the horse chestnut tree. Many youngsters harvest them in the fall, thread them on strings, and use them in pairs to hit each other's dangling seed. For centuries, families and communities throughout the UK have used the activity as a way to celebrate the changing year. It mixes basic physical skill, competitiveness, and seasonal ritual. The World Conquer Championships, which started in Northamptonshire in 1965, came out of this fond memory of a childhood activity. The championships are held once a year, and they are now linked to more than just nostalgia and friendly competition. They also collect money for groups that help persons with vision impairments. This combination of tradition and charity gives the event a local feel and a civic purpose that have helped it survive for many years. These kinds of community festivals are a big part of British society, and the people who plan them frequently feel a connection to the monarchy, which has always been a symbol of national identity and continuity. So it is not surprising that the organizers of the World Conquer Championships would invite a royal child after hearing that they liked conkers. They did this to celebrate a shared cultural pastime, and because they thought that royal support might draw attention and support. Many people thought that the invitation was issued in a friendly way rather than as an official gesture, which made the conversation seem like a minor but real connection between everyday life and public attention. The reason for the invitation to Prince Louis came from a little intimate detail his mother, the Princess of Wales, had said in public that Louis loved to gather conkers. During a visit, Princess Catherine talked about how Adelaide Cottage, the family's home on the Windsor estate, often had conkers hidden in strange places like drawers under pillows and even in the child's bed. People liked the conversation because it was so normal. She said that Louis utilized his toy trucks to carry his growing collection, which is both a picture of any child's inventiveness and a scene from royal life. That story made the link between a young prince and a beloved national hobby seem both natural and sweet. As a result, the organizers of the World Conquer Championships invited Louis to be an honorary patron. To be clear, an honorary patronage is a symbolic relationship in which a famous person offers their name and informal support to an organization or event without taking on the full obligations of an active operational role. Royal patronages have always been a big part of what the monarchy does for the public. They assist the royal family, bring attention to charitable causes, provide status to volunteer groups, and occasionally even get people interested in fundraising or policy. Historically, giving these kinds of patronages has been a technique to help younger royals become used to civic life. It is not unusual for junior family members to have a list of honorary positions that fit with their hobbies or public activity. Many people thought it was a nice and obvious next step for Prince Louis to be a figurehead for the championships given the Conquer story and his reputation for being cheerful. But the palace's response was different. Buckingham Palace politely turned down the invitation, saying that Prince Louis was too busy concentrating on his studies, a playful twist on the phrase concentrating on his studies. This pun served several purposes at once. It recognized and responded to the kind tone of the organizers' approach. It avoided giving the sense of rudeness, and most crucially, it conveyed a fundamental concept of parenting without going into a lengthy explanation. The palace made it clear in one well-put remark that the child's education and daily growth were the most important things right now. There is a real option for parents behind that funny language. Prince William and Princess Catherine have always said and done the same things in public and in private. They want their kids to have as normal a childhood as possible for royal family members. Even though those kids are born into a life of public attention and inherited obligation, the Waleses have tried to avoid rushing them into ceremonial tasks. Prince Louis, who is fourth in line to the throne, is still a kid. His parents' choice to turn down an innocuous but public-facing patronage was an example of putting that idea into action. This does not mean that the monarchy should stop serving the public. Instead, it means that the monarchy should take a graduated approach to official tasks with the level of involvement based on the children's preparedness for them. People constantly look at the parenting decisions of famous people from several angles: personal, political, and institutional. The Waleses have to think about when and how to give royal duties to their children in a way that is quite different from how it was done in the past. The modern press landscape, characterized by tabloid journalism, 24-hour news cycles, and ubiquitous social media, amplifies exposure and hastens public narratives around children in manners previously unencountered by prior generations. That fact means that a parent choosing to skip ceremonial responsibilities is not only a question of comfort or pleasure, it is also an issue of risk management. Keeping kids from becoming too involved in public life while they are young may lower the chances of invasive coverage, safeguard their emotional growth, and let the family have control over how the kids see themselves. Most people were happy with the choice to turn down the Conquer patronage. Others who wrote about it and others who just saw it commended the move as a smart, protective step taken by parents who care about their children's health. Many people thought it was a sign of a modern, realistic way of living as a royal one that acknowledges the media's interest but actively works against speeding up a child's entry into the realm of formal appearances. Most readers saw the answer as proof of careful stewardship, which is a balancing act between the family's public responsibility and the children's private rights, instead of seeing it as a rejection. To comprehend the widespread approbation of the Waleses' answer, it is essential to contextualize it within the progressive history of royal child-rearing. For a long time, royal children were brought into public life at a young age with a lot of focus on becoming ready for some kind of official function. King Charles III's own life shows this pattern. He became Prince of Wales when he was 9 years old and had a formal investiture at Caernarfon Castle in 1969. His route to public life started long before he became an adult. At a young age, a title like Prince of Wales is mostly symbolic, but it signifies the start of a childhood and adolescence experienced in the long shadow of future duties. That upbringing was organized and focused on duty, which is what people expected of their generation when they first started taking on public duties. Princess Anne's path also shows how early people assumed they would be involved in public life. She was known for her strong work ethic. She took on formal tasks as a teenager and became the president of Save the Children by the time she was 20. She did this job with active hands-on engagement, including travel and visits to frontline initiatives. Early involvement in humanitarian work also set a habit of service for her that has defined her public life. The young royal's involvement in real-life activities, as opposed to only attending ceremonies, was a key part of royal socialization in the middle of the 20th century. Another good example is Prince Edward, Queen Elizabeth II's youngest son. He started working in the military and in public life when he was quite young, but he had personal problems when the demands of that schedule and the expectations imposed on him clashed with what he wanted. His short time in the Royal Marines, and the fact that he left, became a public topic because it showed how hard it can be to balance personal desires with civic duties. For many members of previous generations of the royal family, the strict rules of duty and continuity made it hard for them to relax, be free, and try new things. Diana, Princess of Wales, changed these traditions in a big way. Her parenting choices showed that she was open to the world outside of the palace and wanted her kids to be aware of the social realities of daily life. She intentionally put William and Harry in circumstances that made them feel empathy and connected to other people, such visiting hospitals, shelters, and community centers, where she showed compassion via actual touch instead of just symbolic gestures. Those hands-on experiences showed a kind of public service that was based on knowing other people. Prince William has spoken a lot about how these early interactions with the larger community shaped him. They taught him to view public service not as a list of tasks to do, but as a practice based on human connections and emotional intelligence. The variations in how William and Catherine parent and how people used to parent may also be understood as part of a bigger change in how people think about child development. Contemporary parenting literature and psychological studies underscore the significance of play, regular routines, consistent caring, and the incremental introduction of duties in developmentally appropriate manners. These ideas fit with what the Waleses seem to be doing, a family routine that values everyday childhood experiences, like messy crafts and time spent with friends at school, along with carefully planned public events that are timed to the children's readiness. William and Catherine seem to have learned from those experiences and come up with a way to parent that balances safety with preparedness. One real example of this plan is that they have decided to relocate from the busy central London area to a home that is more private, Adelaide Cottage on the Windsor estate. The move is part of a plan to provide more room at home for the kids to grow up in with less interference from the tabloids and photographers. The Windsor estate has a lot of parkland and limited access, which makes it a good spot for normal family activities like school runs, outdoor play, sleepovers, and private family festivities to happen with fewer interruptions. The options for education have also been made with normality in mind. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis all go to Lambrook School, which is a more normal school for them to go to than a school only for rich or royal kids. Going to a regular preparatory school lets the kids do things that many of their classmates do every day, such studying in classes, playing on sports teams, and making friends via extracurricular activities. These everyday encounters are the building elements of a childhood that values continuous growth over early responsibilities. The way parents raise their kids at home is also based on a hands-on mentality. People often say that William and Catherine are very interested in their children's lives. People have seen Prince William pick up and drop off his kids at school and go to school functions. Both parents also go to parent-teacher meetings, athletic events, and other family duties. Their claimed home regulations, such sometimes enforcing a no-phone ban at dinner, are not just for show. They are real restrictions that are meant to safeguard family time from the distractions of technology and encourage face-to-face connection. These kinds of things fit with a more modern view of good family dynamics, which says that limiting technology and sticking to family traditions help people connect emotionally and talk to each other. Princess Catherine's public effort for causes is quite similar to her own parenting concerns. Her work on early childhood development campaigns like the Shaping Us program she has led draws attention to how important the first 5 years of life are for building emotional patterns, cognitive abilities, and social skills. The ideas underpinning this kind of advocacy stress that early experiences are important for long-term resilience, and that play, language-rich interaction, and supportive adult connections establish strong foundations for later growth. Catherine stresses outdoor play, creative discovery, and open talks about emotions in her own household. All of these things help build the type of emotional security that studies typically say is helpful when public expectations come later. Her strategy is not to keep her kids from becoming royals. Instead, it is a conscious effort to prepare them emotionally and mentally for the types of attention and responsibility they may one day have. Prince Louis's public appearances, however few, have started to show how these parenting decisions affect a youngster who is learning to live in public. People recalled Louis most for his honest reactions to events in his early public photos. He had honest facial expressions, fun conduct at pageants and parades, and a tendency to wander about during formal ceremonies. His unrestrained responses at events like Trooping the Color and the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee pageant, such as covering his ears during a loud fly-past, making faces or dancing with unself-conscious joy, struck a chord with audiences because they were so similar to the behavior of any young child. People loved these moments because they reminded people that the royal children are still just kids, even if they are surrounded by formal ceremonies. They were a source of warmth and relatability in an otherwise formal public environment. But as Louis has become older, more parts of his personality have come out. For instance, when he went to the coronation of his grandpa, King Charles III, people saw that he was calm and focused, which made them think he was learning to change his demeanor to fit the seriousness of different events. The coronation was a long, very formal event that was full of traditions that had been passed down for hundreds of years. It demanded a degree of seriousness that even grown-ups found hard to handle. Louis, on the other hand, was able to stay mostly focused on the ceremony while sitting next to his sister. He would periodically mutter to her, but for the most part, he stayed motionless and watched. This difference between his previous more lively public appearances and his latest showing of decorum shows that he is becoming more aware of his surroundings and knows when to be serious and when to be amusing. A similar observation pertains to Louis's behavior at commemorative events, like the 80th anniversary celebrations of Victory in Europe Day. VE Day observances are serious national memorials that memorialize the sacrifices made during World War II. They are not times for celebration, but for thought. In that setting, the young prince remained still studying what was going on and getting signals from the grown-ups around him. But when those formalities were over, he was able to connect with the audience again in a more lively and friendly manner, smiling and waving when it was appropriate. People who have been in the public eye for a long time learn how to switch easily between serious respect and friendly warmth. Louis's early examples of this adaptability show that his parents are teaching him how to handle the different demands of public life. In addition to planned events, simple, unplanned exchanges have given us a lot of information about how his empathy and social awareness have grown. Louis and his brothers were encouraged to choose out toys to give to a baby bank in Maidenhead, a charity that gives families in need basic things. Louis gently chose a soft koala, which was a little deed that taught him about giving and thinking about what other people need. Similarly, on the annual Christmas Day stroll at Sandringham, he was seen thanking a stranger who gave him a tiny gift. People who saw the courteous interchange thought it was genuine and not staged. The most personal story that came out in recent news was about a time during King Charles's cancer treatment in early 2024. Prince Louis gave his granddad a tiny, fun gift, a pink tie with T-Rex dinosaurs on it. This gift was in keeping with Louis's well-known love of dinosaurs. In a family setting where ceremonies and formal exchanges are common, this simple act struck out because it showed the warmth and intimate connection that private family life creates. The present was not a PR stunt. It was, as stated, a spontaneous and loving gesture from a grandson to his grandpa. This kind of event shows the human side of the responsibilities they play in the institution. As Prince Louis gets older, his place in the royal succession will probably affect the choices he takes and the chances he has. He is the spare or the younger brother of the heir, which is a function that has been unclear for a long time. Being a spare in a monarchy means being far enough away from the immediate line of succession that a direct route to the throne is improbable, yet near enough to the heir that public expectations and royal identity are still important parts of everyday life. There are many anecdotes throughout the history of the monarchy of younger siblings who have had a hard time figuring out who they are without the help of their older brothers or sisters. For example, Princess Margaret was thought of as a lavish and restless addition to the royal family. In more recent years, Prince Andrew and Prince Harry have both had their own unique and often problematic public lives. The function of the spare might therefore face psychological and professional challenges, discovering a significant sense of purpose that is not only a derivation of the heir's position. Given this context, it seems that William and Catherine want their children to focus on developing their own identities and skills. Their parenting style appears to be meant to provide each child, George, Charlotte, and Louis, a feeling of control and the means to have a life that includes royal duty but is not limited to it. Early declarations of current interest for Prince Louis already hint at various ways for him to blend his own interests with a structured service-oriented career. Princess Catherine has said that Louis is very interested in aviation and has even thought about wanting to be a combat pilot when he grows up. That desire fits with a family history of aviation and service. Prince William was a search and rescue helicopter pilot with the Royal Air Force and later an air ambulance pilot. Prince Harry was an Apache helicopter pilot with the British Army, and Prince Philip had a long and successful career in the Navy. If Louis chose to join the military in the future, it would provide him a strong sense of identity, expertise, and duty, as well as a way to serve the public that is different from ceremonial tasks. It is vital to understand that saying no to just one honorary patronage, the Conqueror's invitation, is not an act of avoidance in this bigger scheme. Instead, it is a planned part of a long-term parenting strategy. By protecting Prince Louis from the imminent accumulation of ceremonial duties, his parents are intentionally cultivating a boyhood where education, recreation, and familial experiences are prioritized. The goal is to help him build a foundation of mental health resilience and a strong sense of self that will help him whether he becomes a conventional royal, a professional, or a mix of the two. To put it simply, protecting the normal things that happen in childhood is a way to make it easier for people to become involved in public life in the future. The Wales's way of doing things combines old and new ways of thinking. They do not reject the historical duties that come with their family name. Rather, they are trying to create a new way for royals to raise their children in the 21st century. This strategy is based on the idea that early exposure to service builds commitment. It also uses modern ideas about child development and the psychological advantages of privacy play and parental participation. It seems that they are not trying to weaken royal identity, but rather to strengthen it. They want a young person who knows the rules and their responsibilities, but who is mostly led by empathy, personal conviction, and real involvement with important issues. If you look at it that way, the palace's punny statement that Louis is concentrating on his studies is a short way of saying a bigger idea. It shows thanks to the organizers keeps a beloved national custom alive, and most importantly, it shows that Louis's childhood growth is the most important thing at this point in his life. The gesture is small in practical terms, but big in symbolic value. It shows the public that the Waleses are carefully planning how their kids will be introduced to public life. They know that the pressures of being a royal are best handled by adults who were allowed to have the normal freedoms and experiences that help them grow emotionally and morally. The parents' decisions show that they trust the long-term effects of their parenting. William and Catherine are not trying to hide the realities that come with being a royal by putting education, privacy, and emotional grounding first. Instead, they are trying to build a stronger base on which their children may use that position with honesty. They seem determined to raise kids who know that being nice and caring is just as important as following rules and traditions, and who have the strength to turn their family's privilege into something useful for the community. People may still be interested in the silly things that a young prince does, but the careful parenting choices that are being made behind that public charm are creating a different legacy that may last longer. The growth of thoughtful caring and secure young adults who are ready to take on the responsibilities that come with being part of their family's role in the country. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for the time being.